Hi, welcome to my next part of learning series under Microsoft Azure. We are going to see capital expenditure and operational expenditure. This video will be helpful for your Azure learning process in terms of interview preparation as well as appearing for any competitive examinations. Let's see the details about capital expenditure and operational expenditures. So let's start with capital expenditure. The expansion for capital expenditure is CapEx stands for capital expenditure. You can pay cash and own an item outright is nothing but a CapEx. It can be an infrastructure, it can be a server, it can be a, a place or an article that you would like to own. That comes under CapEx. Let us start with the CapEx. What is CapEx? CapEx stands for capital expenditure. You can pay cash and own any item outright. It may be a building or it may be a server or laptop of your choice. Capital expenditure is a cost to a business which incurs to acquire an asset like the building as I mentioned earlier. Those acquired assets like building servers provide benefits beyond a year. Say, for example, buildings will last as much as it can, and servers can run as much as it is possible. It is also called as PP and E, that is property, plant, and equipment. That is, if you buy a property or a plant or an equipment, the cost incurred due to that all comes under capex budget. Capital expenditure are usually long-term investment in the business. It might last beyond an year, sometimes in decades. Usually, it is one-time investment for the purchase of PP&E. When a property or a plant is by an organization, by investing good amount of money into it, they try to utilize it for their own business as much as they can. So the cost incurred due to that all comes under capital expenditure. Usually, all the items which are all brought by using capital expenditure requires lots of maintenance, and because of that it lasts for a longer period. And finally, you can pay cash and own the item outright. That's what we have seen as part of the second bullet. What I would like to reiterate is, if you purchase any of these property, plant, and equipment, it become an integral part of the organization or the company. Either it may be a single owner or joint owner. They equally share the amount of money that they spent as capex while acquiring either property or plant or equipment. Now let's take OpEx. OpEx is a short form of operational expenditure. The cost based on usage. There is no investment initially required are all considered as OpEx. Say for example, unlike CapEx, there is no need to invest heavily on acquiring any of the product. You can buy anything with a little bit investment, or based upon the usage you acquire something. That all comes under OpEx. Say for example, pay what you use. Let's take electricity. You are going to pay the amount electricity based upon the usage. Like that, in cloud, You are going to pay the usage of the service or resources, whatever you have acquired, based upon the usage, like a pay as you go model. They all come under operational expenditure. OpEx items are all generally used up within the year they are all purchased. Say, for example, you will have monthly billing or yearly billing for the subscription, whatever you have under a cloud service provider. Those expenditure are all called OpEx items. The services and options are all purchased as needed. Costs are fluctuating. Those expenditure comes under OpEx. Say, for example, during festival season, your server usage will be more and you will tend to pay more money to the cloud service provider. And so, in such cases, services and options, whatever you purchased, where the cost will be more and it will go down as soon the festival season is over. Next, the OpEx are the funds that support day to day business. Say, for example, buying consumables for running day to day operation comes under OpEx. The expenditure under OpEx bucket are fully deducted in the incurring period. They may not carry forward the expense to the next financial year. And also the expenses whatever you have made and the subsequent taxable amount will be adjusted in the same financial year. So these are the some items that you need to consider under operational expenditure. Now let's see some examples for capital expenditure. The first item, buying your own infrastructure like plant or a building or acquiring a server room. That is an example of CapEx. Next come purchasing a building is an example of capital expenditure. Purchasing of an equipment or a server comes under CapEx. If you are going to have an equipment and continue to maintain that equipment for lifelong period, so the maintenance charges comes under CapEx. If you are going to acquire an IT equipment for your office staff, be it a printer or scanner, that is an example of CapEx. It's all going to be like an one-time investment, and so the expenses are all categorized under CapEx. Next, acquiring patent. Say, for example, you have an unique idea and that got need to be patented, and a good amount of investment will go on in terms of R&D, preparation of documents, and then preparation of other materials to propose that it is a valid patent, and all the cost incurred to acquire a patent is considered as capex. The another important thing, data center renovation is also considered as capex. Data center itself an investment by a customer and renovating it, either upgrading the racks or servers or adding additional racks or maintaining the cooling system, all come under capex. Another example, restoring an asset value through the upgrades, whether it is a building upgrade or a server upgrade, those expenses are all categorized under capex. Next, purchasing a fixed asset. It may be a building or it may be a infrastructure facility, that all comes under capex. Next, fixing an asset problem. Say, for example, you are having a server room that require regular maintenance and that lead to a big maintenance activity like changing the air conditioning or cooling room, that comes under capital expenditure. Next come adopting a machine to a different use. If you have purchased a machine for a particular purpose, and if you find a way to utilize the machine for a different purpose, either by enabling it by adding additional hardware or changing the ways of working of the machine, the expenses due to that comes under capital expenditure. Next come, if you are going for reserving virtual machine instances for your prolonged use based upon capacity planning, and those items which comes under capital expenditure. For such Azure reserved VM instances, you need not to pay any monthly cost. It's going to be owned by you as long as the period that you booked for it. And so that comes under capital expenditure. Next come building an application itself considered as an capital expenditure, because building an application starts from due diligence to proof of concept, then design discussion, architecting, then building the application, and so on up to deployment. And so, in order to bring up an application, the amount of money, whatever you spent in terms of person, servers, software licenses, third party license usage, internet, all expenditure comes under capex. Next come paying for electricity for your own data center. It's owned by you, and so that also comes under capital expenditure. Azure reserved instances or Azure RI, which we have seen earlier, is also comes under capital expenditure. The reason for repeating this one is Azure reserved instances are exclusively for you, and whether you use it or not, the usage cost, whatever you are going to be charged or you paid upfront, comes under capital expenditure. And the final one, buying hardware or software for data center, also comes under the capex. You might have noticed one important thing. In all these cases, you are going to spend money upfront, or you are going to acquire anything by paying the cash or spending money upfront. You are not going to pay money neither on installments nor on monthly basis. It's going to be a one time investment kind of stuff. They are all classified under capital expenditure. Now let's see what comes under operational expenditure, and let's see some examples. The first one is consumables, which are used for your office usage like printer cartridges, paper, and clips. All those are all comes under operational expenditure. Next come the website hosting is also an operational expenditure. You can use a hosting provider for a month. If you are not happy, you will be switching over to another website hosting provider where you will having another set of expenses. So they are come under operational expenditure. Next come web domain registration is also considered as operational expenditure. Some people may argue it's going to be a one time investment and so it should have to be classified as capital expenditure. However, when you are when you are doing web domain registration, there are hidden costs involved, right from the name registration to who is your website hosting provider and what are the services he offers, or if you are switching to another web hosting provider, then the web domain registration will vary, and due to this is classified as operational expenditure. Next come monthly subscriptions. It may be a magazine subscription or a subscription to software as a service product. They all classified as operational expenditure. Next come the electricity charges that you pay on monthly basis, okay, for a rented accommodation or a rented atmosphere or an infrastructure that's considered as electricity under operational expenditure. Next come salary or wages paid to the workers. It can be bi-weekly or twice in a month or monthly basis. All such expenses classified as operational expenditure. Next come rent paid to the office building is also considered as operational expenditure. Next, maintenance and repair of your machinery. In order to maintain that or to keep it operational, the expenses incurred on this area is classified as operational expenditure. Yearly service contract or leasing charges, whatever you pay to the lawyers or to preparing that contract or to amend the contract, those charges comes under OpEx. Next, license fees and insurance fees all considered as operational expenditure. You might have a software license for an year. If you are going to extend it for a specific number of years, 1 or 3 or 5 years, they all come under operational expenditure. The insurance fee that you are making for either your firm or personal or for anything related to your infrastructure, then it is considered as operational expenditure. If you are making any advertisement cost, they all also comes under operational expenditure. And the next item, legal and attorney fees that you are incurring for anything related to your business, it is comes under operational expenditure. And anything that you prepare a maintenance agreement between you and any of your contractors or any of your suppliers, they also consider as an operational expenditure. And day-to-day operation which involve telephone and power overheads, the charges due to this also comes under operational expenditure. And the property management and the taxation cost also comes under operational expenditure because it varies over a period of time. Next, anything related to scaling charges based upon usage or demand. Say if you take in the cloud environment, based upon the festival season, you may need to scale up, and after the festival season, you need to bring it back to the normality or scale down the resource usage or resources. And such scenario where you are going to pay variable amount of cost to the cloud service provider, and so it comes under operational expenditure. Next come the expenses incurred for vehicle fuel and repair cost, also consider as an operational expenditure because you cannot predict the charges, you cannot predict the duration, or you cannot predict when it is going to occur, and so this all comes under operational expenditure. Next come leasing commissions, whatever you are going to make, also an example of OpEx because the commission might vary between agent to agent and it vary time to time, and so it comes under OpEx. And next come the raw materials and the supplies required for your production or manufacturing of some product also comes under OpEx because the prices might shoot up during high demand and it might go down if the demand is less. And so it is an example of OpEx. Next come anything on the office overheads. It can be paper for printer or it can be cartridges or it can be the stationaries like pencil, notepads and other stuff for regular meetings, all comes under operational expenditure examples. Next come, let's see The general differences between CapEx and OpEx. If you take payment type in CapEx, it is going to be a one-time purchase. You are going to pay it upfront. Whereas if you take OpEx, it is pay as you go or pay whenever required or pay per usage. That is considered as OpEx. Next, upfront cost. It's going to be more or less like a huge sum. So it's a significant amount. Comparing the significant amount that you spend on OpEx, the CapEx, in OpEx, it is very less, or in some cases, it is none. The ongoing cost, it's going to be low. The reason is when you start using, let's take a machinery. If you start using that machinery and you will be maintaining it regularly, so the ongoing cost will go down gradually. Whereas in OpEx, it will not go down, but because it is decided based upon the usage pay or like pay per usage. Tax deduction, it will be over a period of time, whereas all the expenditure whatever incurred through OpEx should have to be considered in the same year. You cannot terminate a product or an equipment very easily. Say for example, you purchased a server, you cannot just like that throw it away. You have a building, you cannot dump it as it is. It will take its own time to settle that. Say for example, to sell the property whatever you own, it will take its own sweet time. Whereas if you take OpEx, you can do it anytime. Say for example, you have a cloud resource, like you have a server acquired, and if you are not happy with that, or if you feel that there is no more work involved, then you can discontinue such resources, and so there is no need to pay further usage of such server or resources. The maintenance will be significant in capex case, whereas in opex it will be low. Say for example, in platform as a service or software as a service model, you need not worry about the server upgrade or server operating system upgrade or security patches that need to be applied. So it is almost low maintenance work required with respect to OPEX. Value over a period of time, your proper it will lowers down. Whereas here in OPEX, no change. Sometimes it might increase. And here in CapEx also, it depends upon the nature of the CapEx. Say for example, a building or land might shoot up. The reason based upon the real estate business. Whereas machineries and other stuff, the value will lower. The reason being due to wear and tear. Now let's see another set of differences between capital expenditure and operational expenditure with respect to cloud scenario. Let's take the first one. To buy a property or server, it requires good amount of lead time. So that comes under capital expenditure. If you want to buy a cloud resource, whether it is a server or service, it requires just a matter of few minutes. You fill up a form, select couple of selections in the combo boxes, order it, and it will be made available to you in a matter of 10 to 15 minutes time from the cloud service provider. The second one, CapEx, required skilled laborers in order to set up and then do maintenance and also integration with the other subsystems or other machineries or other business functions. Whereas on the OPEX side, it's ready for operational. No major skilled personnel is required, or in fact, in some cases, no manpower requirement is required for setting up integration and make it functional. And that's the second difference. Third one, on the capex side, chances are all high for server failure or resource failure. Whereas in the OpEx side, if you own a server by provisioning it from a cloud service provider, if it fails, it will be backed up by another resource, and so the chances of failure that is visible to an end user will be minimal. Next come over provisioning or wasted capacity of servers will always be there if you have put a lot of money on capital expenditure and acquired a server. Whereas here in OPEX, you are going to use a server based upon whatever you have planned. Most of the time, people prefer or organization prefer pay as you go model, and they buy additional resources whenever there is a need exists. Next come on the capex side, it requires our own power, cooling, infra, and other setup. If you are going to set up your own data center, it requires everything. So huge money will be invested on that. Whereas here, the cloud service provider will take care of all the stuff. We are not going to be involved in power, cooling, or infra setup. It's all provided by cloud service provider. And finally, the TCO contain many hidden charges in capex. Whereas here in OpEx, the TCO is completely transparent, and so these are the six major differences between capex and OpEx with respect to cloud specific. I would like to reiterate one important thing. TCO stands for total cost of ownership. Say, for example, if you want to own a server or a building or machinery, the total cost of ownership requires not only the direct cost of the machinery or a building, it involves other aspects like legal, legal document preparation, tax to the government, uh, like GST and other stuff. Thank you. I hope this video is helpful to you. If you like that video, go ahead and subscribe it. You will get notified whenever I publish a new video. If you like that, you just ring the bell. And this is not the end of my session. I will continue to provide the knowledge whatever I acquired through short time videos like this. Thank you very much for your time. Stay safe. Bye now.